So when I first started in UX, I was so excited about the idea of having persona because it's such an easy and simple way to explain who we're designing for and also avoid self-referential design. It also somewhat aligned with the practice in psychology in that we would analyze people's behavior, we understand what they do, and we're also finding to predict the future behavior. For example, we know that certain management style is related to better team performance. But then, as the industry become more and more mature, there's more discipline coming out. And people start also questioning about the value of persona, which also makes me to question, am I doing the right things? What is the real value of persona? And how are non-designers going to use them and how we can scale them? So it was good because the opportunity comes along in that I get to work on a project to help an organization to become more customer-centric, which allow me to actually deep dive into this issue. So archetype, persona, or actually job to be done. So let's start with the very beginning. So the very idea of categorizing people actually started in 1960 by a Swiss psychologist called Carl Jung, and he believed that archetype is actually an inborn tendency that influence our human behavior and personality. And he thinks that these are actually reside in our subconscious level. And this is universal across culture and also nationality. And the term archetype actually means the original pattern in Greeks. He identified 12 different archetypes, even though in a way they're not 100% scientific because it was created based on observation and Greek mythology. But it has been widely used in the branding industry and also the entertainment industry. For example, the explorer. They have unique goal and different personality. They find fulfillment through discovery. They're reckless, they're independent, they are adventurous. And this is like a brand personality that adopted by Land Rover and Red Bull. But when you think about the entertainment industry, we also have Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon and also Star-Lord from Guardian from the Galaxy. So it's quite interesting in a way that we know who we are marketing for and we know which target audience might be interested in this type of car or services. And the other example is that the hero. This is a brand image that adopted by Nike and BMW. It's interesting, I like it, but it's not actually quite useful when it comes to UX design. So it's not until 1996 where Alan Cooper actually introduced the concept of persona. And interesting facts. So he actually introduced a persona when he was working in consulting for a project management tool. And the first 3 personas ever are called Chuck, Cynthia, and Rob. Now, persona have quickly picked up and it become a standard deliverable in a design thinking process. But then, this is because it's really useful in that it's memorable, it's engaging, it's effective. We can use that for ideation and use it to prioritize different features. But then things start getting complicated. When I did my research, I was like, oh, that's not 5, not 10, but there are at least 14 different ways in which we name our persona. From proto-persona, behavioral persona, customer persona, negative persona. People also start calling the persona behavioral archetype. I was like, oh, what is that? Is it something different from or similar to June's archetype? And what is that? So I did some research. So I tried to understand what are the actual difference between persona and behavioral archetype. So when I was looking at it, it seems like that the only difference might be the fact that they remove all the imaginary detail like the name and also images. But at the end of the day, we're still answering the question as to who we're designing for, what are the motivation, what are the behavior and their needs. But I still have my doubt because what concerns me is not that we have different names for different persona, it's actually the process in which we create them. Because a proto-persona who build on pure assumption, you create that in a workshop and you think, I'm done. Or it could be based on empirical statistical analysis if you do it in an academic setting. And because of this, the quality of persona is inconsistent. And people start questioning its value within and also outside the industry. I was having a conversation with someone, they go, oh, I know those makeup person. I can't believe you're earning a living out of it. And I was like, let me explain to you the process that we do that. And another thing is that the makeup detail, like the name and imagery, I found can sometimes create confusion rather than empathy as needed. Because especially in large organizations where the stakeholder can also be the user at the same time. There was a time we create some persona, user journey, and also plan forward. And then we have an exhibition. And someone walked up to the persona and go, I know this person. I can't believe she said that and put her name on the face, on the persona. I was like, oh, okay. And then another person go, I was her before, but this doesn't resonate with me. So after I hear this comment, I was trying to walk up to them and explain, oh, this is actually the purpose of it, this is the process of it. But they already have the wrong impression as to what a persona is. Another concern I have with persona is that we're risking of stereotyping people. We might be assuming that people behave the same regardless of the situation and how they feel. But we all know that we're not. So how I'm behaving now is totally different when I'm interacting with my friends and different when I had a few drinks. And we all had like a hangry feeling. We are just really short-tempered when we're hungry. So having a static persona actually doesn't really help capture all these differences. But then, job to be done would get popularized in 2014. So I know that you guys have just heard about job to be done in the previous talk. How many of you have actually used that before in your practice? How many of you are confused about what they are? Yeah, sometimes. So at the core of job to be done, they're saying that let's not design for a customer. We're not designing for a customer. Let's design for the job that they need to get done. So in the previous example would be, oh, our competition is not the bank, but the cow. This is because they believe that when customers are they're not looking for products. They're looking for the optimal solution for the problem they have at hand. They're like a hiring manager. They also have three fundamental beliefs in that for all of the job, there are three dimensions. For example, help me perform like a professional at work. It could mean that make me more effective at my work from a functional perspective. It means that make me feel confident that I can actually do it from an emotional perspective. It also means that help me convey my professional status from a social perspective. It's actually not that simple because within job to be done, there are two composing school of thought. We have job to be done as progress, and we also have job to be done as activity. So from a job to be done progress perspective, we believe that people actually don't want to do the job. They actually want to have a positive progression in their life. For example, they don't want to listen to music. The reason why they listen to music is because they want to relax or escape from the reality. On the other hand, the job activity believe that, let's don't worry about the emotional side of things, it's too complex. And people actually do want to listen to music. Let's see how we can make that better. So Alan Klapman actually did a really good article explaining the two differences, or we can have a chat about it later on as well. But when we put that aside, the reason why people start liking job to be done is because it is seen as an innovation tool in that we can understand the unmet need from a customer, and we can understand who our true competitions are, the bank or is it a cow? It also is better in a way that is business focused because we speak their language. It is also in a way more quantitative focused because when you look at the job to be done as activity, they rely on a lot of statistics and data. And in a way, they're also more strategic focused. But again, I have my doubt. I was thinking that we might be giving the wrong impression that we don't care about customer anymore. It doesn't really matter who they are or what they do, as long as we get a job done. Even though I understand it's not their intention, but people might understand it that way, and it seemingly seems like a step backward. We're also risking designing for a one-size-fits-all solution if we don't think about a pain point and a different behavior. And also wonder, how can job to be done apply in different contexts or different settings? For example, what if I want to design a new clinical therapy program to cure problematic social addiction? I don't know how to apply a job to be done. What I could do, however, is to potentially create some behavioral persona to understand the trigger point, the emotional status, the psychological status that each of the people have when they have this problem. So which one should we use? It seems like that this has been a question that has been floating around. Is it persona? Is it job to be done? But maybe this is not the question that we should ask. So I'll show you how I go about tackling this problem. Because in one of the projects that I worked on before I joined Qantas is actually to help a large educational organization to build a more customer-centric culture among designer and also non-designer, like the call center staff, it could be the frontline staff. The intention is set so that everyone within the organization can put the customer at the center of everything they do. So one of the first things I do is, okay, let's do a persona audit to see what actually they're using. They're actually in a persona crisis in that I found 80 or 100 different persona. We have 80, I think we have 80 teacher, 20 parent persona, and then we have 40 different student persona. For different reasons, because they are created by some designer, non-designer. We have some proto-persona, we have some research-based persona, we have some persona that were created for the purpose of redesigning a website. We also have some that is for organizational design. They're for a different purpose. It's a good sign because it's good that people understand the value of persona, but it's not good because we're overwhelming them. We're losing them because they don't know which one they should use and for what purpose. It's like crisis and chaos. We also try to understand, okay, so what are the challenges? We speak to people, both designer and non-designer, to understand what are the different challenges you have when using persona in your work. So these are just a few of them based on our conversation. But one of the key things is that the existing persona, even though we have 100 of them, they don't feel like they capture the diversity of the customer. Because for our educational organization, we have teacher, student, parent. Yes, these are our customer group, but how the behavior they need is different depending on the context. What school types, depending on the student background, and also depending on the teacher experiences. They also feel like that it doesn't really help them with their prioritization as to what they should do first, and it doesn't really help with team collaboration because they're using their own persona and they don't have a common language. Another thing is that they all have different level of maturity. We have some team who's embedded UX and HDD as part of their day-to-day work. We also have people saying, no, what is that? I don't really care about them. Nah. So how might we, as an external consultant, really empower designer and non-designer across the organization to really understand customer better in a less overwhelming way, like not 80 persona? So, because this is under NDA, I can't show it for now, but this is the concept. So what we propose is that given that they have really low, in a way somehow lower level of maturity, and when we interview people describe their customer group as role-based. So that will be a good starting point because it aligns with the mental model. So we propose that, okay, let's have an overarching persona that actually describes who we're designing for or who we're serving for, and the typical behavior and in a specific context. But with a tweak, we add a sub-persona underneath it. So within a sub-persona, they're more like business focused. They're more like topic focused. It's more discussing one point at a time, so that we can capture the different need and behavior depending on the context. So for example, we will have a teacher persona explaining the overall motivation, the frustration, the key needs that they experiences in the context of education. So this will be a really good starting point for people to onboard to the company. It will be good enough for them to just to understand, okay, these are the different type of customer that we have within this organization. Good enough, but not in an overwhelming way. On the other hand, if people want to deep dive into, okay, so I really want to understand this group better, then we can deep dive into the sub-persona in that, okay, if we want to provide them with better educational support, we have to look at it from a career journey perspective because the need and behavior is different depending on whether you're new starter, you're progressor, or whether you're an experienced teacher. And also, if we really want to understand what it's like working in a school, we have to understand the context. it's different when you're working in like a mainstream school where all the kids are more motivated from a diverse school where students come from really diverse background, and also a complex school where the teachers tend to have really complex and somehow sad story in their life. So you have to understand all these to understand what it's like being a teacher in different types of school. So by having this overarching persona and sub-persona, we can understand them without stereotyping and also giving them people an understanding the diversity of the customer we're designing for. So in a way, we tackled the first problem maybe. What about the other one? How can we actually create a common language between designer and non-designer so that they can work better together? And we feel like that this is where the job to be work statement really helps, because as humans, we motivate by goal. And having a common goal is what makes a team. And with job statement, we have really clear positive statement, goal directed, and it's quite easy to understand. So when a designer look at it, they go, okay, this is a need, this is a customer need we need to solve. On the other hand, when a non-designer look at it, they go, okay, this is my target, this is my objective, I have to get that done. So just a simple statement can really bring the two different perspectives together. So in this instance, we added two extra elements into our persona. So one is having the prioritized list of jobs that these persona need to do. It helps create a shared purpose among team. We also actually we did a mapping, the job and the team mapping, so that the team can understand for each of the job, who is actually responsible for that? Who should we talk to when we are executing this job? So in this way, we are actually pointing to different teams to talk to one another, and we are nudging slowly that for those who unrecognize the need of a human-centered way of working, to really understand, okay, this is actually relevant to me. So this is some tweak that we did to the standard persona. So we also do some draft persona and do some testing, because we want to understand, based on this new framework, how are people going to use it in a day-to-day job? So ideally speaking, I want to do longitudinal study, but in the interest of time, we have to do a concept walkthrough, role play, and content testing, just to understand how they can use these new persona. Oops. So, in the beginning of the project, they would go, okay, I will look at the persona and I'll see, for my project, for this particular project for optimizing or redesigning existing product, which particular overarching persona I should look at. They will also then look at which sub-persona relevant to them. And then they will go, based on the severity rating in the job to be done that we have put together, they will say, okay, these are the different common jobs that we need to tackle for these projects. Another thing that we do is actually we'll map the job in the UX pyramid. So this is a UX pyramid. It's based on Maslow hierarchy of need. Basically just saying that we have to make sure that the foundation is right before we aim for a higher experiential goal. So the team actually put all the job to be done, map it on this pyramid, and what they have done next is they put together an iteration plan, making sure that all the fundamental goals are being satisfied first before moving up the ladder. So this is one of the ways they have used the hack persona to really use it in an agile way, and it really helped with cross-collaboration and helped them plan moving forward. So back to the original question. Do we use job to be done, persona, or archetype? So after the literature review, it seems like that archetype is more useful for branding and entertainment and is not that useful for UX. And also when we have the term behavioral archetype, it's really behavioral persona. So let's remove that from the question. So is it really between persona and job to be done? Not really. Is it about how we can combine the two? Maybe. But in our perspective, it's really about how we can leverage the benefit, leverage the two, from job to be done and also the persona, and take into account who's going to use it. Is it the designer? Is it the frontline staff? Is it the contact center staff? What are they going to use it for? Is it for onboarding, for education, or for design purposes? And also, how are they going to be used? So through that process, I just want to share with you my key learning. in doing this project, in that is job to be done, persona, or both is really just a mean to an end. You can use, but I would recommend using job to be done when your customer group is more homogeneous, or when the organization is quite low in the UX maturity. But use persona when you can, or even as a starting point, or when you're unsure, because persona really help you to understand the breadth and complexity of your customers. I also learned that tools are made to be modified and evolved. You don't have to stick to that one persona template. You need to evolve it based on what you need for that particular project or for that particular organization. But it doesn't mean that you have to rename it. I could have called this job persona, like job to be done plus persona. But you don't have to, because people don't judge your work by what you call them. It's a process in which you go about creating it. What are the sample size? What method do you use? How do you go about coming to this conclusion? It's not the name of your deliverable. And also, we're really important to consider who are going to use it beyond designer. Because I would like to believe that UX is becoming or is an organizational phenomena. Thank you.